Very good. We'd like to welcome everybody to the Washington County Board of Commissioners meeting here today, and thank you for being in attendance. As we start our meeting, we have Sharon Shores here from the Universal Life Church Ministry, and also our local Interfaith Council to give us our invocation. We appreciate her very much being here, Sharon. And then afterwards, we have Jerry Curtis from American Legion Post 100 to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Jerry, for being here.
Okay, so welcome everyone. For those that don't know, the Interfaith Council has been in St. George for about the past 15 years, started by Tim Martin, and we represent a variety of faiths, all Christian faiths, Muslim, as well as the Jewish beliefs also. So let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your wisdom. As citizens of this community and citizens of heaven, we ask you to fill us with wisdom by the power of your Spirit. Enable us to know you better, to know your will and your plans for our lives. Lord, give us a heart of wisdom. Produce in us creative ideas and solutions to problems. May you give us a sound counsel and good judgment to help us make good decisions. May you also give us greater knowledge, understanding, and power so that we may live skillfully with wisdom and give back what is good and excellent to our communities. Thank you, Lord, for all of our civil servants, for our leaders before us, for their hard work and sacrifice. May you continually bless them. May you generously give each of them wise and discerning hearts to skillfully govern the city and the people in our city. Give the mayor, city leaders, and city council wisdom so that may solve problems. What may they act with integrity and transparency and bring order, stability, and prosperity to our community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sharon, for that beautiful prayer. Jerry?
Thank you, Commissioner. If everyone would please rise and follow me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. That's always my favorite part of the meeting, right there. Our next item is our consent agenda. The consent agenda is a means of expediting the consideration of routine matters. If a commissioner requests that items be removed from the consent agenda, those items are placed at the beginning of the regular agenda. Other than requests to remove items, a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda is non-debatable.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we accept the consent agenda with the following items. Item A, consideration of audit or approved claims for payment for August 17th, 2022 through September 6th, 2022. Item B, consideration of regular commission meeting minutes of August 16th, 2022 and work meeting minutes of August 23rd, 2022. Item C, consideration of administrative adjustments for real property. Item D, consideration of administrative adjustments for personal property. Consideration E, consideration of applications for property tax abatement, of which there were 3. Item F, consideration of 5 County Association of Governments contract Amendment 1 with Washington County Council on Aging for Aging and Nutrition Services for the fiscal year 2022. And item G, acknowledgement of notice of adoption of ordinance number 2022-1216-0 on Saturday, August 28th, 2022, and that is my motion.
And I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second on our consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Our first item is a presentation of Employee Longevity Award, and we have Linda Martin, who has been working at the Council of Aging for 20 years. I think that's she's been aging while she's been serving the great citizens of Washington County, so we appreciate her. Jake Browning, are you going to come up and talk just a little bit about Linda?
So today I have the privilege of recognizing Linda Martin.
Linda's been with the county for 20 years, like Commissioner said, and she has been a staple. Every morning she comes in and gets our routes set up so that our Meals on Wheels can be distributed and figures out exactly who needs what and calculates everything and makes sure that those drivers get on time so that every day the great citizens of this county get a hot meal and is delivered on time. And it's all due to her her organization and her promptness, and she just never misses a day. She's just a hard worker, and I couldn't be pleased to have her part of my department.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Linda, do you want to come up? We have this little packet and award. We used to give out a clock when people would reach their longevity, but we just felt like that was kind of the wrong sign to send, so. Let's see, our next item is item 2, presentation from Hinton Burdick on our 2021 financial statements.
Hi, Commissioners. I want to step in here just really quick to introduce and tell you that this is finally to the end of audit season. For 2021, Hinton Burdick, you'll remember, met with you in the spring to go over what we were going to audit and kind of their plan. They're back here to now report what they found. They did go through all the revenues, all the taxes, all the reimbursements, all the grants. They also go through all of the expenditures. They spend a deep dive into payroll, into accounts payable. They go into our debts, into our grants, so everything financial. And they've been wonderful to work with. We are excited that they're here to present today. I do want to take just a second and say I'm really thankful and appreciate the department heads and the elected officials that we have here at Washington County, that they'll all work together to make it so that we can have good, clean audits and that they'll do things according to the rules like that we need them to do. So Stephen Palmer's here from Hinton Burdick, and I'll turn the time over to him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Commission, thank you for having me here today. You probably remember I was here last year as Mike was preparing for his retirement, and he has officially retired, and I have taken the reins from him. My name is Steve Palmer. I'm a partner with Hinton Burdick, and it was my privilege to oversee the audit last year and again this year. I just want to reiterate what Susan said about how much we appreciate the cooperation and help we get from the staff at the county. Susan mentioned all the things we look at, and that was a pretty complete list. We were here for about a week, and then there's a lot of wrap-up thereafter. We ask a lot of questions, ask for a lot of documents, and generally make a nuisance out of ourselves. And your staff is always really good to put up with us and provide us with the information that we need in order to finish the audit. You know, the audit is really a very important process where you're able to get a set of eyes independent of those within the county to come and look over the books and records and make sure that everything's in order. And it's my privilege to be here this afternoon to report to you on the results of our audit. In conjunction with the audit, there are several reports that we issue. The first being the most significant. It's the independent auditor's report. And in that report, we express our opinion on the financial statements of the county and whether or not they're fairly presented in all material respects. And I'm pleased to report that we issued a clean or an unmodified opinion on the county's financial statements, meaning that in our opinion, they are materially correct. We also issue a secondary report that's required by government auditing standards on the county's internal control over financial reporting and on significant matters of compliance. And I'm pleased to report that the county received a clean opinion there as well, and we did not have any findings. We issue another report on the county's compliance with state financial matters, and I'm pleased to report that we had no findings in that area as well. The last report that we issue is on the federal single audit. As you know, the county receives quite a bit of money from the federal government for various programs, and the federal government has their own requirements that we need to look at. And as a result of those auditing procedures that we performed, we did not have any findings or questioned costs in relation to the federal dollars that were spent. I'd like to take just a few moments, if I can get this to work. What's the secret? Here we go. I'd like to prepare some graphs, and these don't just reflect what happened at the county during 2021. These give a good trend as to what has happened over the past 5 years. This first graph on top shows some of the trends in the general fund. The top graph is the cash and the fund balance in the general fund, with the top line being the fund balance and the bottom line being the cash. You can see that both have been very stable over the past 5 years. This next graph, it doesn't like my finger very well, here we go, represents the revenues and expenses in the general fund, and you can see that they have been very consistent over the past 5 years as well. As the county has grown and revenues have increased, expenses have increased also, as you would expect. As the county gets larger, related expenses increase as well. You can see in the general fund that the revenues and expenses largely mirror each other, and that's to be expected. You don't expect the general fund to carry a large net income or revenues over expenditures. This is the assessing and collecting fund. The blue line represents cash, the brown line fund balance. You can see they largely mirror one another. You can see in 2021, expenses exceeded revenues, and that's due to the fact that a significant amount of money was transferred to the capital project fund to help facilitate the construction of the new building. Susan can correct me on this or add further clarification if she wishes, but the county undertook a study to determine a percentage or a portion of the new building that will be occupied by each governmental function. And based on that calculation, transfers were budgeted from those functions to go into the capital project fund to assist with the construction. And so that's what you're seeing here with the increased expense and decrease in cash, those funds moving over for that construction. Here's the travel board. You can see that the cash has been very stable. Revenue has increased, as you would expect, with the increase in tourism. As we've come out of the COVID-19 years, we've seen an increase in revenue and likewise an increase in expenses. Again, they transfer some money into the capital project fund as well. Gil.
Explain where those funds actually come from. Who pays those?
The vast majority of the monies in this fund come from tourism.
I knew that. Because we have people that say, oh, these dumb tourists come here and they don't do us any good and we're taxed for them, et cetera. I just wanted to be on record that those funds for TRCC and TRT are people that come here, travel, eat at restaurants,
That's
beds
right.
and beds, things like that, and that some of those revenues are portioned out and then returned back for assets to our citizens, whether it's, recreation, arts, and other things that we can do with TRT. I don't necessarily tie that to RAP. I'm just saying that those, because that's a separate fund, I get it, but still have an ancillary effect out our citizens.
Here's the capital project fund. You can see that cash and fund balance increased as those transferred monies came in. And see that the revenues increased from the transfers. The expenses also increased due to the construction of the building. We'll see the cash and the decrease, the expenses increase again in 2022 as that construction continues.
Those numbers express the funds that we received from either ARPA.
If they were recorded into the capital project fund, I don't remember off the top of my head, they would be there. And it may be that those were recognized in 2022. Susan can probably remember the timing of that better than I can.
We do have some of it that's being paid for out of ARPA for the
Which is some of that increase.
correct.
Thank you.
Small amount, but
A small amount, yeah.
there's.
Here's the travel board. You can see that the cash and fund balance increased as those transferred monies came in. And see that the revenues increased from the transfers. The expenses also increased. and municipal services, you can see that cash and fund balance mirror one another. And the revenues and expenditures. Again, there was a large transfer to the capital project fund. Going through these fairly quickly. The recreation fund continues to show a very healthy trend. Revenues have a good margin above expenditures. See those revenues coming in to support the recreation needs in the county. Corridor preservation. I don't have many comments on one of these. They're pretty predictable from year to year. Okay, this represents the county's long-term liabilities. It's listed by the different significant classes of liabilities: bonds, capital leases, pension, accrued compensated absences. And in that column to the far right, you can see whether the liability balances are increasing or decreasing. The most significant one you see there is the net pension liability. You probably remember, it's been quite a few years ago now, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board required all governments to put their pension liability on the books. It hadn't been there previously. And they some actuaries go through and do a bunch of calculations trying to project how much each government will have to pay out in the future for their employees' retirement. And that's what we're seeing there. That is the estimated liability for those pension items at December 31st, 2021. That number will go up and down each year based on how the stock market and other markets are performing. The county has some control over that number, but not complete control, because it does depend a lot on the returns that are received in the markets. This is a comparison of fund balances for the more significant funds of the county. The top number is the 2020 numbers. The top graph represents the 2020 numbers, and the bottom graph is the 2021 numbers, just so you can get a comparative look at how those funds are performing. Very consistent from year to year. There we go. And these are the other funds, or the smaller funds of the county, a similar comparative graph. Once again, very comparable from year to year. Those were the items I wanted to share with you this afternoon. And once again, I'd like to express my thanks to all of you for your support and help in completing the audit.
Well, thank you. We sure appreciate Hinton Burdick and Paul and all that you do, auditing our auditor,
Yeah,
right?
That's
And just,
right. We audit the auditor.
That's the way we do things. And anyway, we sure appreciate everything. Susan?
I was just going to say, if you would so desire, I'd like you to make a motion to accept the audit.
Very good.
And put that on the record if you would mind.
Super.
I'll make that motion in acceptance of the Hinton Burdick 2021 financial statements audit.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to accept the 2021 financial audits. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you. Item 3 is consideration of our purchase request. Ray?
Okay,
It's appropriate after that presentation we talk about.
more money?
So, yeah.
Buying stuff?
Okay, these first few are all in regards to our fleet program that we have set up. The first one is for the assessor's office. We are buying one fleet vehicle and trading in one fleet vehicle. The cost is $48,156. The trade-in value is $48,156, and the trade-in value is $48,156 for a net total of $0. The next one is for our motor pool withheld in the clerk auditor's office. This is the purchase of 2 fleet vehicles at $48,156 each, and a trade-in of 2 fleet vehicles at $48,156 each for a net total of $0.
Did you trade the one in that had the heater problem?
I didn't know we had a heater problem.
These are brand new vehicles. They don't have very many miles, and all of a sudden it starts blowing hot air. The only problem is I was in the passenger seat, and Commissioner Snow was driving. He was perfectly comfortable.
It was, I don't know
And
what
I
he's
was over
talking
there
about. I was
roasting.
fine. It was nice, cool air, but we did have to drive all the way from Nephi to St. George.
And then he
with
drops me
Victor
off.
in just blasting hot heat.
And then he drops me off at Anderson Junction, and he turned the vehicle off real quick and turned it back on, and everything worked out perfect after that.
I did check that out, and I regret to inform you, you had the defrost turned on.
I did not have the defrost. Anyway,
So sorry about that. But yes, that one's getting traded in.
very good. Somebody was
Sorry.
defrosted by the time we got.
Sorry.
Again, I was fine. I don't know what his problem was.
I feel like I'm blushing now, sorry. I forgot where I was, but the next couple were for the commission. We'll repeat if I need to. Trading in 2 fleet vehicles and buying 2 and trading into everything is a total of $48,156 for a net total of 0.
So five new trucks for no money.
Yes,
Other than the original.
we're not done yet.
I know, but whoever put that together was a great.
Yes, 5 new trucks for no money. The next one is also in regards to our fleet program. This is for the sheriff's office. This was a last-minute addition of about an hour ago.
Oh, okay.
This is for 6 new fleet vehicles for them and 6 trade-ins. Also, each is a total of $48,156 for a net total of 0. So add 6 to your 5.
11 trucks.
The next one is for the Dixie Center. This is to replace 3 5-ton roof HVAC units for the Entrada rooms. This cost includes electric, gas, labor, and an estimated crane fee. This is a total of $32,828. The next one is also for the Dixie Center. This is to fix some asphalt damage. The initial cost is going to be $72,330.81. And if needed, to fix the drain, which they think is the cause of the damage, we'll add an additional $13,633 if needed, for a total of $85,964.31. The next one is for our Emergency Services Department. This is for 32 powered air purifying respirator kits. This is a regional asset that will be dispersed to all bomb squads in the region within the state. This is for $81,382.40, and that is grant funded. The next one is also for our emergency services. This is a tracking software called GangScope. It is for $13,800. This is for 12 licenses that will be dispersed throughout the region. This is also grant funded. The next one is for Legacy Park. This is for it's for events, not necessarily Legacy Park, event at Legacy Park. This is for the wagon train event. This is the catering for that. It's for 5 breakfasts, 4 lunch, 4 dinners, includes gratuity and a fuel charge, for $22,334. And the next 2 are in conjunction with each other. It was realized this was the same project, and it came together over $10,000, so it was thought appropriate to bring both before the commission. The first one is the actual purchase of the partitions for the men's and women's bathrooms in the indoor arena. This is $7,880. The next one is the actual install of those partitions for $5,800 for a total of $13,680.
Oh, very good.
And unless there's any questions. That is all I
Chairman,
have.
I move we approve the purchase request as presented by Ray.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the purchase request. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Just for anybody visiting, any purchase in the county, all of these have been budgeted. Any purchase over $10,000 must be approved in a commission meeting, so. Thank you, Ray, for
Thank you.
everything you do. We are now on to item 4, which is consideration of proclamation number 2022-25, a proclamation declaring Washington County's adoption of Constitutional Week. And we have the Daughters of the American Revolution here. How are you ladies doing today?
We're doing great. Enjoying the meeting, learning. But anyway, may I introduce myself? My name is Karen Mangano, and I am with the Daughters of the American Revolution Color Country Chapter. And first, before anything, we would like to thank Commissioner Gil Almquist, and all of the commissioners for accommodating us on such short notice with this, with Constitution Week. I thank you very much. And I just have a brief statement. Is that okay?
Please.
Okay,
please, yeah.
all righty. On September 17th, 1787, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, in the Assembly Room of the Pennsylvania State House, which is now known as Independence Hall, our U.S. Constitution was signed by 39 delegates, making it the law of our land. The Constitution designed a government, but it also placed limits on it to prevent arbitrary rule. It guarantees every American fundamental rights and protection of life, liberty, and property. On September 17th, 1787, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the Liberty Bell was rung upon the signing of this great document. So every year, on September 17th, at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, the bells will ring across America celebrating Constitution Week. Constitution Week begins September 17th, and it goes through September 23rd. Here in St. George, we will celebrate Constitution Week at the Tabernacle, downtown St. George, at 1:30 with a patriotic musical commemorating Constitution Day. And at 2 o'clock, we will join the rest of the nation by ringing the bells across America at the Tabernacle. And we would invite everybody to come and join us.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. I want to thank the Daughters of the American Revolution, and I think you guys have all just, over the last few years, the Constitution Week has really just grown in its celebration here. And it should, because, you know, the 4th of July was the beginning of the War of Independence, but it's the Constitution that really makes America, America, you know. And let's see, Commissioner Almquist, did you want to read this proclamation, or?
I do. I also am putting into our calendar that event. So give me 10 seconds. Very good. Well, this proclamation, which is number 2022-25, reads as follows. Whereas September 17th, 2022 marks 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. Whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. Whereas Public Law 915, 70 Statute 932, August 2nd, 1956, guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Whereas during this Constitution Week, as citizens of the United States of America, we do affirm the ideals established in 1787 by the framers of the Constitution, that it is vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, and remembering that lost rights may never be regained. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the County Commissioners of Washington County, Utah, that the week of September 17th through 23rd be known, honored, and remembered as Constitution Week. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your help. Thank you. There are several events that day,
Oh, yes, there are.
in addition to yours. And so that's amazing. Isn't it at Snow Park? Is that right, Adam?
Yeah.
There is one at Snow Park.
And there's one last item. We need to actually vote on this proclamation.
Yeah.
I need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this proclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
Thanks.
Item 5 is consideration of Resolution R-2022-2989, a resolution approving a conservation easement that is being conveyed as part of the Pine Valley Preservation Project. Commissioner Snow, I have you down. I also see former Commissioner Gardner back there.
I'm actually gonna hand this off to Devin, who's gonna carry that.
Very good.
What different Snow?
Sure, happy to do that, Commissioners. So back in 2020.
Do you want me to tell you what the Gardners used to say?
No, let's move on.
Previously, in 2020, the Commission adopted a resolution to support the Pine Valley Meadows Preservation Project. And what that is it's a project of the Virgin River Land Preservation Association. They're going through and getting conservation easements and doing preservation and conservation measures to keep the Pine Valley Meadows pristine and undeveloped or relatively low development. And as part of that, the county agreed to participate in 2 of the conservation easements as part of that project. And let me talk about what that participation means. So the county isn't putting up funds for those conservation easements. The county has agreed to act as a holder of that easement. So in other words, in this case, you have a property owner who has a lot, voluntarily says, great, I'll sell you a conservation easement, and as part of that, I'm agreeing not to build a house on this lot. I'm agreeing not to put a gas station on this lot. This is going to be preserved in kind of really low use, agricultural type use in perpetuity. The county's participation is, if the terms of that conservation easement are ever violated, the county could enforce those terms. If the Virgin River Land Preservation Association, for whatever reason, we're not doing that. So that's all the county's participation as part of that. So you're being asked to approve the terms of this conservation easement today.
And just to clarify, this is willing seller, willing, I mean, this is what somebody wants to do with their land. This is not the heavy hand of government saying what anybody should do or must do. This is them saying, I want to put this on my land, and they're getting compensated for it.
Correct, exactly.
And not with tax dollars. They're getting compensated by the Virgin River Land Trust,
Yeah.
which has numerous funding sources.
In a lot of ways, Alan, they're buying the development rights on this property. It remains in agriculture, its traditional uses, just not to be developed, correct? It's good to see you.
Good to see you guys. It's been a long time since I've been to one of these.
Yeah, usually you're up here.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the property owner donates 25% of the value, but they retain the use of the property for ag values. And I'd just like to thank the county for the participation over the years. This particular property is right directly east of the church. There were 2 acre, 1 acre lots there. One of them was put in the easement earlier this year, and this one will conclude that. So that will mean the whole entrance coming into Pine Valley now, except for one little piece as you first come around the turn, will be in an easement. So we really appreciate the county for that, and for those that have stepped up to help fund it.
That'll really preserve the feel and the heritage of that valley there.
And the Virgin River Land Trust is looking for people that would like to donate and help them raise funds. They have other properties up there that they would like to see into that easement. Anyway, thank you.
No, thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve Resolution R-2022-2989, approving a conservation easement that is being conveyed as part of the Pine Valley Preservation Project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Our next item is consideration of Resolution R-2022-2990, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County and the state of Utah Department of Natural Resources, Division of State Parks for TRT funding to improve and expand a portion of the road inside Sand Hollow State Park. And so what this is this is a road that is currently has a chip and seal on it, but it's not quite wide enough. We are in a partnership with State Parks, and to improve this road, it'll be used not only for the park, but it'll also be used for the Ironman in a way that we can reroute traffic and free up kind of an important bottleneck that was being created by sending the bikers back out and around. And so it's a great partnership there with the state parks. I appreciated them coming on board and actually helping substantially so that we could get this done before our World Championship in October.
Well, here's another example, Mr. Chairman, that, again, the TRT funds are being used for half of the total cost. And that's, again, from those who are traveling to this area, visiting and paying that tax. And yet we get to use this road for, year-round for whatever purposes we might need. So based on that, I'll make a motion if you're...
Yes.
Item number 6, I'll move that we approve resolution number R 2022-2990, the interlocal agreement between Washington County and State of Utah Department of Natural Resources to improve and expand a portion of road inside the Sand Hollow State Park.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Item 7 is consideration of Resolution R-2022-2991, a resolution regarding budgetary and inflationary pressure. And I'll speak to this and then ask my fellow commissioners also to join in. Obviously, all of our citizens in our county kind of recognize the economic conditions that we're in. Our families are under a lot of pressure as gas, fuel, and other things have gone up a lot. As the county takes a look at our position, and as some of you who were here just barely with the auditors giving their report, everything is good now, but we see storm clouds on the horizon. And so we have met with all of our other elected officials and all of our department heads and talked to them about how we can meet this together. And so we have decided to bring this resolution to this meeting and pass it just so that we can make a statement on some of the issues that we've asked people to, our county, to take a look at. This is about us putting our house in order as well. So I'd just like to read the resolution, just whereas the inflation rate in the United States has almost quadrupled over the past 2 years, whereas the annual inflation rate in the United States rose to 9.1% in June, the highest since November 1981, whereas energy prices rose by 41.6%, the largest increase since April 1980, whereas food costs rose by 10.4%, the largest increase since February 1981, whereas according to an employment report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, wages continue to climb nationally, whereas inflation puts pressure on local governments, including Washington County, to continue to operate within budgets when their employees and citizens are forced to pay more for food, gas, housing, energy costs, and other living expenses. Whereas the U.S. economy shrank for the second straight quarter, which some believe to be evidence that the country is in economic recession or will be soon. Whereas the county owes it to its citizens to analyze any and all cost-cutting measures to continue to function efficiently, notwithstanding severe inflationary pressures and the negative effects of any recession. And whereas it is critical to the proper functioning of the county that it continue to take care of employees because their employment is essential to the proper functioning of the government and our local economy. Now therefore be it resolved that the County Commission of Washington County, Utah, and all county elected officials and departments are called upon to take the following action. 1, maintain adequate monetary reserves. 2, analyze all expenditures and cut unnecessary costs. 3, forego projects that would increase debt. 4, support and maintain our employees and staff levels to the extent possible in order to prevent an increase in the economic hardship caused by any recession on our citizens. 5, confirm that county services are provided only as allowed by state law. And 6, repair and maintain existing equipment as long as possible to avoid unnecessary replacements. And so that's what the motion says, and this is the discussion that we've been having with all of our department heads. They've been responding greatly as we've been talking about this. You know, these pressures that I mentioned, or the resolution mentions, are also being felt by our county employees. We're having discussions on how to stay competitive and how to properly keep up with wage inflation for those that work for the county as well. So that's kind of what the resolution says. Turn the time to.
Yeah, I mean, this is, look, inflation sucks. And inflation is a tax. We all understand that. It turns out you can't print $10 trillion and spend it in 18 to 24 months without having massive effect on the citizens of this country. It's infuriating to many of us, and it is a tax that all of us have to pay whether we want to or not. We have no vote in that, other than voting the idiots who made it, who passed it. But the spending bills. But I can say that what we're trying to do, we only have purview within the four walls of this county, right? I mean, that's where we get to focus our attention within this jurisdiction. And so this is one of many steps that we're taking right now to try and reduce cost however we possibly can. The average family in America is spending $4,000 to $5,000 more this year than they did last year, without getting $4,000 to $5,000 more in income. And so this is us speaking to our employees and to the public in general, just is one of the many measures that we're taking. There will be more coming in further weeks of things that we can try and do to rein in any expense possible so that we don't have to raise taxes or apply further burden. All three of us, I can speak because we already have, all three of us firmly believe that the last thing we want to do is throw additional weight on people who are already hurting at the gas pump. They're already hurting at the cash register and everywhere else they go right now. And so this is us trying to tell our employees and the public that we're looking for every single penny we can, and we are vacuuming nickels and trying to establish a culture of cost cutting within our employees, within every department and office within the county. For instance, we met with one of our department heads just last week, who said that she had spent a fair amount of time trying to find cheaper pens. They go through a lot of pens. People walk off with them. They use them a lot. Pens are a normal thing in office, and found that the distributor that they've been using for a while used to have the best price, and they didn't anymore, and she's now moving to a different distributor. Honestly, that's a very small amount of money, but lots of small amounts of money add up to a lot of money, and it's the way that we're trying to absolutely get by on the absolute bare minimum, employees and expenses. That if there's something being done by 5 that it could be done by 4, we're taking a look at seeing how we can do that with 4 instead. But that also means, as Commissioner Iverson already said, that our employees are feeling the same inflationary pressure, and this is their career, this is where they work. And in order for us to maintain, we have Ron Whitehead in the back, who, have you bled employees at all to Sunrock or any of the other excavating companies that we lose road people? And some people say, well, that's, just fine, we're going to cut the size of government. But it turns out, Ron, people don't like potholes in front of their driveways, do they? And so they want roads that are maintained, that they can pass when it snows in the winter, that they can get through up in Pine Valley or wherever it might be. And so trying to maintain, we need those people to still do those jobs and to maintain competitive with the market so that you can continue to hire and replace and backfill positions that you may have lost. And so this is a very fine balancing act where we're trying to get by on the bare minimum, but also remain competitive, where we can hire the people for the absolute necessity services that we provide, many of those by state law that are mandated by us, and doing so without putting additional burden on our employees. And to make our, on the citizens, that our employees are as efficient and effective as humanly possible. This is, if anybody thinks this is easy, come and to give us that silver bullet, because I'd love to put that in our toolbox, but it's not. It's not super easy. It takes a lot of hard work from all of our elected officials, our department heads. We have spent, I don't know how many hours that we could add up, but it's important. This is something that is critical for right now for the citizens of Washington County, and there are future things coming out that we'll continue to do and push. This is just one step that we could get out right now to establish that efficiency.
Yeah.
Well, I won't repeat, although I echo everything that's been said by both of my fellow commissioners, but I just want to strike an obvious difference between business and government. We know that all of the money that we receive to operate our government essential services comes from taxpayers, with the exception of grants that maybe some taxpayers somewhere else paid for, right? Or the national scene. And granted, also, we already talked about tourism. Those are visitors that come here that we receive some benefit from within certain parameters. But a business says, hey, well, our expenses went up. Well, we'll just charge more. Well, we don't have that luxury of charging more for our goods, right? That would come in the form of raising taxes, and we have committed we're not going to do that. So looking, as we said, under, I love the commercial where the couple is sitting on the couch and the couple that owns the house comes behind them and, I'm so glad you're here, and pushes on their shoulders so that the change will fall out of their pocket. That's their retirement plan, they said. But the idea is that we're looking for that change, and we're also cutting where we can. The fact is that some departments have willingly come in, and those elected offices said, if I lose somebody from attrition, or that they go get another job somewhere else, and I absolutely don't need to backfill that job right now, they're not going to. And that's awesome, even though we don't like to cut services, and we certainly don't want to do that in our law enforcement and search and rescue and other things. But there are departments that said, hey, if I can be leaner as far as employees go, we're not firing anybody, but we are not maybe backfilling a job. I think it's noteworthy that should be emphasized as well. But overall, we're committed to finding every way to keep functioning. And we've heard comments back from folks that are looking at various budgets online historically. Hinton Burdick came here today and gave us some of that historical look back. And I would hope that whoever's doing that would look sincerely at various line items. The commission office's expenses have gone up an average of 3.5% over 4 years. Other departments, the same. They're very modest increases. They look bigger, and some of the transfers that people saw say, oh, well, those are new taxes. No, those were transfers from one fund to another. So having said all of that, I appreciate what we're doing, being committed to it from the beginning while we keep our good employees and services open.
This resolution really is just to kind of send out the message that Washington County is considering this very seriously. I want to address a couple things because we did have our audit today. One is that as we went through those different funds, one thing that's unique to county government is that some of those funds can only be spent in certain areas. And so really, the fund that is under the most pressure is going to be our general fund, which is where our property tax goes and a portion of sales tax. But out of the general fund is where we provide the sheriff's office. It's where we provide bailiffs for the courts. It's where we provide the jail. It's also where our attorney's office is coming from. So some of the very core functions of county government come out of that fund. And we're in a very... we need to take care of those people that are taking care of our community and keeping it safe. We have been fortunate, and we have a long legacy in this county of avoiding debt and being disciplined in spending. It was great to see former Commissioner Gardner here because I first had an opportunity to serve with him, and this year we'll be paying off, for example, the bond on the Dixie Center. Since I've been a commissioner, we paid out a variety of bonds. 2026 we'll pay off the bond for the jail. This county has very little debt to speak of, so to speak, and we avoid debt. And as you can see, we do hold reserves. We're paying for this entire building and the parking structure without bonding. That's almost unheard of, that local government is able to pay for a project like that by being disciplined over time. But we do see the clouds on the storm, so to speak. We wouldn't be wise if we didn't draw attention to this and just let the public know that that this is in the front of our mind. It's something that we're very concerned about, and we're going to be addressing it going forward. So.
Just one more thing, just for the general public to know, and all of our employees, Washington County has the lowest tax rate in the entire state of Utah. We're proud of that, and we could actually increase it quite a bit and still be the lowest tax rate, but we don't want to be. We don't want to increase that. We want to get by continue to be the lowest by far. But realize that we are feeling the same pressure that everybody else is. When our sheriff's deputies drive around, they pay the same inflated gas prices that everybody else does. When we have to go buy fire truck tires or tires on vehicles and things, they cost a lot for us too. There's no special government pricing that says, oh, you get your tires for $25. I wish that was the case sometimes, but that's not what it means. And so for our employees, it just is a message internally. It is time to get lean and mean. If you haven't already before, everything is on the table for ways that we can cut and be efficient. And so I think our department heads and our other elected officials understand that, but every single one of our employees needs to have that same pressure that is the new culture here at Washington County, if it hasn't been clear already, that we will be lean, mean, and effective and efficient.
And I'd just like to add one more thing to our employees as well, is that we are looking to staying competitive in the job market. We always talk in this county about internal and external equity. And so what that means is that as you look at wages, you have to make sure that we're staying competitive with similar agencies, for example. Take our sheriff's deputies. They need to be paid competitive with what they would make in with other agencies. At the same time, the external equity is our taxpayers out there as well. Those that are, paying these taxes, to make sure that there's a balancing act there. And it's something that we're very committed to, this idea of internal and external equity. And so.
Chair, one thing I did over the weekend, which I thought was really insightful, and I thank Susan Lewis for her guiding me there, but if you go to our website for the county and go under Clerk Auditor, you'll find some history there. Most everyone receives a tax notice and they say, gee, last year I paid this and this year I paid that. And because it comes from the county, they think we've increased our county taxes. With very few small items in there, the greater increase came from the state school board tax this year, state school trust tax. But the point being is that at our website, you can look back at your personal taxes for 10 years. And I did that and came to find out that my actual property taxes on my home went down in the last 10 years, about 3 of those years. And the other years, we made a modest increase or did a remodel, and they obviously appraised for more. But I think everyone needs to look at that history, because when you look at 10 years and then you look across and you say, wow, I might be paying a little bit more in this area or that area, but the big reality is it shows what you're paying in that other taxes that we have no control over, the school board tax being one of them for the state, which is where the vast majority of all increase, this year. So anyway, do some research and your homework on just where your own personal taxes have been over the last decade. Where is it, Susan? I know I can find it, but I go under financials, under clerk auditor.
Where the financials will be, that's where the budget
Right.
and all that kind of thing. You can go into, on the assessors also, they have the closure notices, is that what you were looking at?
Yeah.
Previous years?
And if you take your tax notice and you take your serial number, you can type it right in, and it'll give you your entire history for as long as you've owned that property back, I don't know, it was more than 10 years. I just looked at 10. Anyway, I was fascinated by it.
Yeah, there's been a burden on our taxpayers because of the freezing of the state tax rate. And I can remember when it was the the session wasn't even over, and our then clerk auditor Kim Hafen said, "Hey, did you see that they raised our taxes at the state legislature?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "They froze the rate, which means that as values increase, taxes will increase." And that has proven to be the case, and we have seen historic property increases in this county, 30 and 40% a year. So when you freeze the rate, and the certified tax rate is not able to make adjustments for that in the tax year as the value of your property goes up, that is where you are seeing huge increases in your property tax. And the thing, as long as I'm up here and pontificating, the thing that's irritating about that is that in this motion, in this resolution, we're trying to put ourselves on the record of being disciplined as a taxing entity. And it's not helpful when other taxing entities do not use the same discipline or do not use discipline. And because I think at the time they were thinking that it was going to be an $80 a year increase, and then it's been hundreds of dollars of increase on
Per
people.
house.
So, anyway, we have discussed this. Any?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move with the comment that taxes are sacred. Tax dollars should be treated sacredly. Somebody had to work for that money, and it should be treated with the same respect with which it is earned. But with that, I will move that we approve resolution number R-2022-2991, a resolution regarding budgetary and inflationary pressure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 8 is consideration of resolution R-2022-2992, a resolution authorizing additional services for the proposed Western Fire Special Service District. Devin?
Sure. This is a resolution that clarifies the range of services that could be provided by the newly proposed Western Fire Special Service District. And to be clear, it's a clarification. It's not a change in direction from what the commission has already passed in the prior resolution. It's to clarify, when that resolution was originally passed, Western Fire was going to be an ambulance transport agency. Its really primary purpose is going to be as a fire and EMS agency, meaning first response. They would hand off to a 911 transport agency. So this makes it clear that this district would provide fire protection and emergency medical services. And then one additional note, there is a park property that one of the existing districts maintains. It's a nominal amount that this district pays to maintain that park. But this would also allow the newly consolidated fire district to maintain that park. At some point in the future, it would probably be a good idea. The park might be separated, a separate community entity at some point. But for right now, this gives the district the ability to keep that park managed. And then with the next resolution is the same idea. It's a clarification of the services that can be provided. So fire protection, emergency medical services, meaning first response type services, so on.
So, yeah, item 8 and 9 are almost the same resolution in the fact that one of them is for the Western District, which goes up to Brookside. And so that includes the communities of Diamond, Dameron, Veo, and Brookside, and Gunlock. And then then item 9 is Pine Valley and Central, and then up around Enterprise as well, so.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, but I'll separate them. Item 8 first is resolution number R-2022-2992, a resolution authorizing additional services for the proposed Western Fire Special Service District.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, the motion passes. Now we have item 9, which is consideration of resolution R-2022-2993, a resolution authorizing additional service for the proposed Mountain Fire Special Service District.
I move that be approved also.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. We're now on to item 10, which is a consideration of resolution R-2022-2994, a resolution approving a professional service agreement with Avenue Consultants to prepare the Washington County Transportation Master Plan and Active Transportation Planning. Commissioner Almquist.
Well, we have great planners, and it's always wonderful to have another set of eyes go on this. So we've asked Avenue Consultants to look at not only the Transportation Master Plan, which, by the way, goes decades into the future, but also how that how that works together with the active transportation plan, which is trails and, other considerations beyond just cars. And so with that, we applied for and got some funds from UDOT and DTEC for looking at that and just making sure that we're on the right road, so to speak, no pun intended, going down to that will then be submitted and with active information given to our cities and the other partners that we line up with in trying to decide where all these roads are going to go in Washington County and how people are going to get there without using cars as well. So that's the gist of it.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve consideration of approve resolution R 2022-2994, approving a professional service agreement with Avenue Consultants to prepare the Washington County Transportation Master Plan and Active Transportation Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. We're now on to item 11, which is consideration of resolution R-2022-2995, a resolution approving juvenile public defenders agreements. Nicole Felshaw?
Yeah, so Commissioners, this is before you today. In the past, we have had juvenile public defenders that actually do delinquency proceedings and child welfare proceedings, and we just have combined that under one contract. The IDC, which is the Indigent Defense Commission, which we receive a grant to fund a portion of this, has asked us that we separate the delinquency proceedings and the child welfare proceedings. So this really is just redoing the contracts to separate those and so that we can satisfy the IDC grant.
Very good.
I move that we approve resolution R 2022-2995, approving the juvenile public defender agreements as explained.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is item 12, which is consideration of resolution R-2022-2996, a resolution approving an amendment to the agreement between Washington County and Bowen Collins and Associates, Inc. for the Warner Draw Watershed Environmental Assessment Project and adding 5 additional sub-projects. Ron, I think I've talked more about this watershed agreement than almost any issue. Anyway, it seems like it always finds its way onto this agenda, but
It's had a few amendments to it, but it's usually good amendments. They've
Yeah.
increased the study, increased the things they were studying, increased the work they were doing, but it's all been pretty much 100% funded by NRCS.
Yep.
And it's that same way today. It's up to 1.2 million, and NRCS is paying for 100% of it.
yeah. And this is has a lot to do with flood control as well, right? That's really what the study's about.
Flood control, and it covers more than just the area that lists here. It's spread out over a big piece of the southeastern part of the county.
Well, we definitely need it.
Would you mind explaining what the Natural Resources Conservation Service has done over the last decade, really since about 2005, then 10 again, and we've never lost their focus, and I have appreciated that.
They are I had to see who was in the audience. They are the best federal government agency.
They really
you can ever
are.
work with.
I think we should say that in front of every federal agency because they have no regulatory control.
I have
And they just
before.
try to solve problems.
They're very good to work with. They come in and recommend projects that we can do to mitigate some of the problems that we might have or have had in the past. And they've always been good to work with us on funding, to give us funding to do the studies, all the environmental stuff that goes on before, and then help us with the funding, do the actual work to get it done, so.
Yeah.
I
And the
appreciate
county manages a lot of projects that are in cities, and we've been working with them ever since the floods of '05, right?
They're
came
really
in.
entwined in our county
Yeah, they've been great
and
to us.
doing a lot of
Very
stuff.
good.
Well, I move that we approve resolution number R 2022-2996, the amendment to the agreement between Washington County, Bone Collins and Associates for the Warner Draw Watershed Environmental Assessment Project and adding 5 additional sub-projects.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 13 is consideration of resolution R-2022-2997, a resolution approving the issuance of a comment letter to the BLM regarding a proposed integrated weed management plan in the Beaver Dam Wash and Red Cliffs National Conservation Area. I don't see Cameron here. Speak to this.
I can cover this one,
Oh, okay.
Mr.
Very
Chairman,
good.
if that's okay. This is a weed management plan that affects these two areas you just mentioned, Beaver Dam Wash, Red Cliffs National Conservation Area. It's a new management plan that's been published for comment. Staff has reviewed the plan. I've passed it on to Brad, our weed manager over in Public Works. Ron has also had input, and then also Cameron with HCP has also had some input. And so this would allow staff to put together a comment letter based on their concerns or suggestions for this proposed weed management plan. And I'll present that letter to you for your signature once that's ready.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve our resolution R 2022-2997, approving the issuance of a comment letter to the BLM regarding a proposed integrated weed management plan in the Beaver Dam Wash and Red Cliffs National Conservation Areas.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. We're now on to item 14, Commissioner's Report. Ron Whitehead, our Public Works Director, you wanted to give a little update on chip seal.
Just a little update on our road construction projects or maintenance projects. We're still in the Black Ridge area, New Harmony area, trying to get our chip sealing projects for this year finished up. We'll be all through this week and a portion of next week. We understand it's a possibility of more rain next week, so if you're driving in New Harmony or Black Ridge area, please watch out for the construction crews. They'll have signs up. They'll be in their big trucks and their orange shirts out there. Please give them plenty of room as you go by so we don't have any accident that way. And if we do get more rain and we do have water across the roads, make sure you know what's underneath it before you drive out. We still have some minor surface damage to some of our roads that we have not been able to get to yet, and it'll probably be the end of the month before we get back out working on that stuff. So just pay attention. If it does storm, make sure you know where you're going. We don't have any bad problems with people driving off roads.
Please tell your crews that I've had numerous calls from the Kolob area saying how wonderful those improvements are up there, how they appreciate the work you've done. It's been 3 years you've been working on certain portions of that road, but this summer in particular, they've taken notice. And whereas the National Park used to keep their section on that way to Kolob up pretty good, that's now the worst part of the road that goes through the national park. But county road up there, they're saying you've done a great job.
Thank you. I'll let them know.
Very good. And I was driving up in New Harmony yesterday, and the road looked great. The ones I drove on were the main one in and by the library, and you guys are doing a great job, so thank you. Speaking of when we were voting on the transportation planning, it reminded me that I owed a report back from DTEC to David in regards to the improvements that UDOT gave in our DTEC meeting on the section of freeway between exit 13 and exit 10. And so it's my understanding that they are preparing, I believe, in about the next 6 months to go into construction. It'll be $70 million is what they said to widen the freeway there. And they're going to add that new interchange off into Washington. And they believe that will alleviate exit 10 by about 20% to 30%. So there will be some improvement and there's going to be some minor tweaks to 10, but don't expect any massive makeover. They're really hoping that by widening those lanes and by having another exit, that'll improve the situation that everybody's been dealing with there in 10. So the cost of it, as UDOT, we talk about inflation, they're seeing a lot of inflation in their construction. I was quite surprised at the cost of that, but that's the report I have back from DTEC. DTEC is, it's run by 5 county. It's our Metropolitan Planning Authority, and they do planning in regards to transportation in the metropolitan area, you know, here in Washington County. So thank you for being here and reminding me to give you that report back. Commissioners?
Well, while we're talking about UDOT, Thursdays are their day to go along I-15 where the median is, and they go out there because they don't want the companies that have assumed some responsibility for cleaning up the roadway, and they have a special machine that's supposed to pick up, right, Ron, the things that where the median wouldn't be safe for people to get, especially, for example, from Boulevard to the Washington exit 10. And so if anyone notices something in there, they'll come up for big items like mattress or whatever, but that's their days that they do that. Other than that, our road crews that are collecting trash are just continually going throughout the county. And how about this for a job? It's almost like kids where you clean the counter and you come back 1 hour later and it's like full of cereal and spilled milk again. So these crews are going out and collecting 50, 60 bags of trash a day, and they're going back 2 weeks later to the same stretches and going, dirty again. So my hat goes off to them. That's not a fun job at 105, and it won't be a good job at 35, but they're doing it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because in all honesty, our sheriff's office and our prisoner crews were doing that job. Our state inmates were doing that job prior to COVID. But then after COVID, we weren't able to bring them out. And some of you might have noticed the litter became terrible on I-15. And so it was at that time that we developed this crew. It's a partnership between ourselves and the Solid Waste District, because most of the garbage really is in that area where garbage trucks are driving to the landfill. And I see them out there all the time because I drive that road. They are trying really hard. We went out on the maiden voyage and was there cleaning up, and we gathered up just a ton, and literally a trailer drives by and a whole bunch of stuff falls off of it. And the deputy that was with us there for safety, he had to go stop traffic or at least kind of caution them because it turned into a hazard. But it just shows people, please tarp down anything in your trucks and when you're driving, and then it does take a lot of effort to keep that roadway clean. We have 2 guys that work at it nonstop, and they do a good job. It's really made an improvement. I do have one other editorial comment, and I don't know if the deputies will join in. It seems that we used to, the prisoners at the jail used to work harder than the ones we have now. And I'm thinking it's a generational thing, right? We're Generational X. They were a lot harder workers. And these millennials, they don't even make good prisoners picking up trash, you know. Maybe it's just me, and I shouldn't have said that on the public record. But anyway,
They'll be picking up the trash at your house.
The cleanup crews need to improve around here. So
I'll say, I've got 2 things to report. One is I got a call, speaking of the deputies, I got a call from a constituent the other day who had a difficult situation and some family members with some special needs and just wanted, we get a lot of calls. It is really easy to armchair quarterback local government, by the way, or any government. It's really easy to say, well, why don't you just do this? Completely disregarding many of the laws that we're forced to follow. But rarely do we ever get somebody who says, wow, good job. This was, something happened really well. And he called just to say that an interaction with he and a family member, but where the deputy that showed up was just couldn't have been more understanding, more considerate, more calm and polite, dealing with a very difficult, irate person, and just was the epitome of kindness and what you would expect in law enforcement. And so for all of our deputies, I just wanted to, whoever would see these minutes or watch this proceeding, just to say thank you. That is exactly what we expect. That's what we know happens most of the time, and that's the kind of law enforcement that we want, is we interact with the citizens who we work for. The other thing is just I was gone last commission meeting because of the 5 and 6 county Association of Governments. All of Utah is broken up into, with one exception, is broken up into groups of counties to provide certain services that the state or the federal government mandate. And Washington County is part of the 5 county Association of Governments, and there's a 6 county kind of in the Richfield, more central area, and they combine every year and put together what's called the 5 and 6 county Association of Government Congressional Briefing, which is where we bring, not to get political, but basically Democrats from the East Coast who don't understand what life in the West Coast is like, and we bring them out and we try and educate them on a tour for a week. And as Washington County's representative and one who helped create that tour into what it is today, I went, and that's where I was last commission meeting. But it's a wonderful opportunity and just amazing to see what change can happen even in just a few days. When somebody gets on the ground, they see these are very strategic and selected invitations that we make. Staffers whose bosses are on the Appropriations Committee or the Natural Resources Committees on both the Senate and the House, and to have them come out and say, man, things really are different because they're from Virginia or Maryland or Connecticut or somewhere like that. And they think that they know best how life is out here in the West for us and what life is like. And so many of the decisions that they make from a desk in Washington, D.C. affect us on a day-to-day basis, and they don't realize it. And so we bring them out to show them, get them on the ground and to show them how it affects real people, and from agriculture to roads to funding to PILT to everything that we have to deal with out here. And it's amazing, even by the second day, they go, wow, you guys really do have to have your hand out for every single thing that you do, saying, please, can we do this? You're not hand out, hand up, asking permission just to live our lives normally and to hopefully get the government off of our backs, which is what the point of that tour is. And it's amazing to see how quickly we can turn people around. So we brought 23 of them out this time, and it was that's 23 votes. If we can just flip a couple, that will actually do great things for Washington County. So it was, I just want to congratulate the 5 and 6 county AOG leadership for both of those and for the tremendous amount of work that it takes. It takes about a year to plan that entire event and to put it on. And for all the counties that participated in Washington County, it was obviously one of the premier ones. So we were well represented.
Still fire season.
Yep.
We have some of our biggest fires over the last 20 years started in September. So we have to be very careful because even though we've had some rains, it's still very dry.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate that. Well, with that, we will stand adjourned.